It says recording on mine.
You're good.
All right. Hello, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight for the District 4 Athens-Clarke County Commission debate. We are grateful to be here with Allison Wright and Michael Stapor, both candidates for District 4 County Commission. So thank you all for spending your time with us and sharing your ideas today. I live in District 4. My name is Brianna Bivens, and I'm grateful to be co-moderating tonight alongside Blake Odd. So I'll kick it over to Blake to introduce himself and talk a little bit about the format for tonight.
Sure, thanks. We're going to give the candidates in just a minute 60 seconds to introduce themselves, then we'll go to the questions. We'll alternate who gives their answers first. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. When you start getting close to the end of your 2 minutes, I have a sign that I'll hold up to let you know that you need to wrap it up. At the moderator's discretion, we may extend your time by 30 seconds or allow the first candidate who responds to have a brief rebuttal or a follow-up question. So let's go ahead and get started. Brianna, I think you've got the first question for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Allison, we'll start with you for this one. Lots of us have long been aware of the income and wealth inequality in Athens-Clarke County, but the COVID-19 pandemic has brought many related issues to the forefront of our consciousness. What kinds of specific social and economic policy changes would you champion as commissioner to ensure that future crises do not leave the most targeted and repressed communities to suffer?
Okay. Hi, I'm Allison Wright. She, her. And I guess we were going to have introductions, but we'll do that later. Right?
Oh no, that's a great point.
I'm bad at my job. We were supposed to do introductions. Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, let's do introductions first, and then I'll read the question again. Yeah, Allison, if you want to start with introduction. Okay. Thanks for keeping us on track.
Okay, that's all right. I'm Allison Wright, and I've lived in Athens for since 1989. I came here as a single young professional. Got married to my husband Gene in '92. I became the proud mother of Lucas and Shoal in '97. I began working with the community as a Board of Education member in '05 and became a commissioner in 2012. Worked with Mayor Denson and a variety of commissioners for 6 years, and we're in year 1.5 of Mayor Gertz, and we have a dynamic team right now. I think we work really well together. I think we're all similarly minded as far as our progress that we want to make. I'm not done yet. I want to continue working with this team. We all bring a different type of skill set together to move Athens forward. And on that note, I wanted to share the website, accgov.com, because there's a lot of updates for everybody on the current pandemic, as well as resources and relief efforts that we're posting there. My campaign is keeprightathens.com, and then one way to keep in touch also is my phone number, 706-549-3518. If anything I mentioned tonight you want more details on, please call me, 549-3518.
All right, and Michael Stapor, please take a minute to introduce yourself.
Yeah, for sure. First, I'd like to thank both moderators and Athens for everyone for putting us together. And for everyone who's going to watch it later, thanks for watching it, getting involved. But my name's Michael Stapor. I'm a progressive Democrat running for District 4. I've lived in the district for 4 years. I know a lot of people will point that I'm young, that I'm a student. I look to pursue my master's degree here at UGA. But I'm not running for this position because I need a second job. I'm running for this position because I've seen a vital need in Athens to push through meaningful legislation. Just speaking with the community, members of the community, just my personal friends, people I've seen on the street, and with certain organizations, there's been a disconnect between what the community wants and then actually championing some of these issues and moving forward with them. I come from a working class background, and Athens has a terrible poverty rate, one of the worst in the entire state. We need meaningful change to start addressing that, and that is my plan. For more information just regarding my campaign, if you want to contact me at all, you can go to michaelstapor.org, or you can contact me with my phone number as well, 678-490-4053.
All right, thank you. And let's get on with the questions.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. So Michael, we'll actually start with you for this first question, and I'll repeat it again. So lots of us have long been aware of the income and wealth inequality in Athens, Clarke County, but the COVID-19 pandemic has brought many related issues to the forefront of our consciousness. So what kinds of specific social and economic policy changes would you champion as commissioner to ensure that future crises do not leave the most targeted and repressed communities to suffer?
I think just showing this pandemic, and just not our community, a lot of people were just not prepared for the scale of this pandemic. And like you mentioned, this pandemic has greatly exacerbated the problems Athens has already had and has had for more than a decade. So I do commend the commission on passing some legislation on giving aid to following the county manager's recommendation and giving aid. But I'd like to see that go forward with a full-on resiliency package for the city of Athens, ensuring small businesses, but more importantly, low-wage income workers get the support they need through this time. Moving forward, I think we do need to create some kind of guidelines for when a crisis occurs. I think a problem that I've seen during my time here is a lot of times we tend to fix problems when they already arise rather than trying to actively fix them. Moving forward, my entire platform is based on fixing the poverty issue and helping citizens in Athens. That covers fair, free public transportation for all Athens residents, making sure future developments include things such as affordable housing, community benefits programs if we have any new developments coming in, and things of that nature.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And Allison, same question to you.
Okay, thank you. This is an important issue. One, being connected and connecting the people who need help with helping units, so to speak, or our partners that we're partnering with. One of the things that we're using for the connecting the community members, we're doing handouts for people who are familiar with the school system. It's called a school to home to school notebook. And right now we're using the opportunity to hand out flyers, bilingual, to the at the free lunch servings that are happening for the students in the school district. So those handouts are informing them of our resources that the government is doing now. And that's something that we should continue to do, to have what we, our services to reach to all aspects of the community. And that's sort of a flyer information, but it can also point to the website. But for the website information to get to people, you have to have broadband. So I think that one of the initiatives that we need to work on is improving broadband access. Fortunately, during this crisis, we all still have our electricity and our internet and ability to communicate and stay in touch that way. But a lot of people in the community can't do that. And also educational opportunities and career things are not equal if everybody doesn't have broadband. And in the SPLOS packet, SPLOS 2020 that just passed, one of the topics in there is that the unified government is going to look at ways to improve the broadband for the whole community. And that might be that it's more of a utility within the unified government so that everybody has that. And I think that us tackling the topics in the SPLOS list is going to happen soon so that we can reprioritize some of the topics. And I think that the broadband one is important.
Thank you. I have a quick follow-up question for you, Allison. You had mentioned sort of the flyer campaigns and the outreach that's happening to inform the community about the pandemic right now. And I'm wondering, from a sort of future-oriented perspective, once we, move through this, what do you envision for that kind of public outreach? What would be the content for a public outreach or flyer campaign?
Well, I think it's when we continue to make meaningful change that we're doing, policy changes and updates, that if we can let the school district allow us to continue to have that. Right now, we use the flyer inserts in the mail, in the water billing. That only goes to 30,000 people. Think of how many households there are. And Ovita and I are working on the different things that might come up that we're changing, and information and the ability to communicate when we're having public hearings for that engagement. So that we're making the right choices and reaching the most people. But what Ovita and I were working on was trying to learn how much it costs to get a mailing out to each resident, not just the water bill, because the people who live in multifamily units, they're not getting the water bill. The management office does.
Thank you.
Michael, do you want to do you have a response to that? Do you want to take a few seconds?
Could you repeat the question for this follow-up?
Oh, the question Allison had mentioned, kind of reviving a like public outreach campaign even after the pandemic is over. She was talking about some of the flyering that's happening now. So my question was sort of targeted toward, what that kind of public outreach looks like after the pandemic.
And this is still relating to just people in poverty, people who are struggling, correct? Still relating it to that initial question.
No,
or just public outreach in general?
Sure, yeah. Outreach for folks that might not have access to the internet, where a lot of things are currently circulating. That was my follow-up question.
Yeah, so I fully support getting out the word, getting outreach out to people. If it is regarding the issue of poverty, I feel like Athens has known that there's a poverty issue here, and that's not something we need to really spread anymore, because most residents of Athens know that there's an issue here. I think now is the time more for actual change, going through policies, working with the community to actually start working on these issues rather than just talking about it. But I do support, like especially during a time in pandemic, for people who don't have access, and that's one thing we've learned. I think we've learned from this pandemic is that the internet cannot be considered a luxury anymore. It needs to be considered as a utility, and we need to move forward to give everybody access to it, just as you would water or power.
All right.
Great, thank you.
The next question is about constituent services, and I think it's Allison's turn to go first, I believe. Is that right? Okay. An important part of the job of a county commissioner is direct constituent services, making yourself available to answer questions, problem solve, and connect residents to government services. This has sometimes taken precedence over pursuing meaningful policy changes that have the power to transform lives in Athens. How do you, if at all, think you should balance the two?
Well, I have a good bit of practice doing that. I've been balancing that since I started on the school board. So what's important to somebody when they call me or email me or see me, which is sort of more of a constituent level issue, it's important to them. So then it's important to me to help solve it or get them the answers that they need. And that also keeps the connectivity for when we are looking for the broader community-wide policy improvements, that the connectivity is there for me to ask opinions, or they know I'm accessible for that, even if we don't have the same opinion on things. So the constituent services is part of the job. It's a great part of the job. My husband probably would wish that I didn't do as much time on that, because we can't walk or go anywhere, it seems like, without somebody wanting to interject a specific topic for them. But also those topics also end up being more applicable to others as well. I had a constituent talking to me today about the lapse in his lease between where his lease is ending up now, where he's headed. He's got a week, and right now during this pandemic, what you do in that week is totally different of what's safe and not. But that's not just it's my constituent talking to me, but that's going to be something that all the commissioners, and we're going to have to look at how to make sure that topics are being addressed. So we have to do both. The shorter constituent services, sometimes those things can be wrapped up in 2 weeks, and it's gratifying to see something that can be done quickly and help a constituent. And then the bigger policies and meaningful changes, those do take a lot of time, and it also takes public input. So having the constituent level camaraderie or connectivity or accessibility, however you want to call it, is helpful when we get to public input on the larger policies for the whole community.
All right, thank you. And same question to you, Michael.
Yeah, so I think it should be a 50-50 split. I can't envision the job having to do one or the other. You can't make policy for the community if you don't talk to the community. And if you can talk to the community as much as you want, but if you're not actually taking what they tell you and taking it to actual policy, then you're also not doing your job. And just speaking with members of the community, one of the reasons I'm running is I felt that disconnect between there has been opportunity to listen, but then that listening, the things you listen to from your community members, there's just no actual application in it towards actual legislation. There's no actual real policy change. I mean, like I said, when I got here, I was surprised about the poverty issue not being locally from Athens. It's been an issue, and I've heard about it constantly since then. And I know personally that it's been an issue for, like I said, more than over a decade. And little has been done to actively address that. I feel like there's too much comfort with the status quo, and we need somebody to champion these issues, champion what the community is telling you, rather than just still going about your business. Because then if you're still just going to do what you're going to do, what's the point of talking to the community? And that's one of the big stressors of my campaign is I want to be very open to my constituents. I know everybody has a different perspective on how they look things, how they see things. Everybody has a different idea for has a different solution for each problem. So I want to listen to each of those. One of my campaign ideas was, unfortunately, because of this pandemic, we weren't able to, but making myself available at Hendershots or the Jittery Joes at 5 Points for an hour each week, just so people can talk to me. And if elected commissioner, I'd like to extend that. I'd like to be as open as possible, but also maintaining being a champion for these issues to actually get real change done.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so Michael, we'll start with you for this next question, and it's about affordable housing, specifically for renters in Athens. Lack of affordable housing in Athens is an ever-growing problem, and District 4 is no exception. Rents continue to rise at a much faster rate than wages or inflation. Right now, I live in a 3-bedroom house with roommates in District 4, and next year, the rent will be increasing from $1,215 a month to $1,425 a month, and that is a 17% increase. So what will you do as commissioner to give renters in the district some optimism that they won't have to continue giving more and more of their paychecks to landlords and property managers?
So a big staple of my my platform is introducing a tenants' bill of rights for the city of Athens. What that does, and we've been looking at a bunch of cities across the country, just to see how they've been doing it, how it's been working for them, and we think it would be a great plus for Athens, just ensuring renters' rights. Ensuring that we can't have these high rent increases, but also going on to other rights. For example, you can't be punished as a renter if you report a violation or if you report something wrong with the property. And then regarding affordable housing, I feel like any project that involves any residential zoning moving forward needs to include affordable housing. There's just no way we can keep going at the rate we've been going, especially with these big apartment complexes, which I believe Athens has reached their limit on. Places like the Standard, like the Mark. We need to turn away from that and focus more on affordable housing projects and redevelopment within zones we already have.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And same question to you, Allison.
Yes. I'm sorry to hear that about your rent. That's a lot there. Part of affordable housing is also the quality of the housing. I would question that your landlord has done that much improvements in the house, especially since you're still in there, to raise the rent. But property values have gone up, the assessments have gone up, but I think that and then the renters end up paying more sometimes because of that. But if the property hasn't increased in its value for the livability and the quality of the tenant, I question that they would be able to raise the rent from that, be able to look at that assessment. I know people can fight property value assessments by proving that they haven't changed anything. So that's just me taking in that detail that you shared. But affordable housing and quality housing go together. And one of the things that we're working on to make it affordable is that you can have more roommates and living in the residential neighborhoods. So we're working on getting rid of the no more than 2 unrelated tenants within a single family zoned area. And the first step to that is for us to work on loud and unruly properties in residential areas. That also includes the short-term rental houses, because those are also affecting the amount of rent that is being charged for properties because of that ability to get more from the short-term rental people. So we've got to address those in policy, and I've got loud and unruly houses is in legislative review committee, and we've just moved that up in the priority list to start working on that in May. And affordable housing is key to the creative people that we have in our community so they can afford to stay here.
Thank you, Allison.
Okay, next question is, we'll go to Allison first. Most of the University of Georgia falls within District 4, and the United Campus Workers of Georgia has been demanding living wages of at least $15 an hour for all workers. The union has also supported UGA paying fees in lieu of taxes it is exempt from, since its tax exemptions deprive the county of crucial funding and contribute to its high poverty rate. What will you do to support the union and its goals? So two parts,
Yeah,
$15 an hour and payments in lieu of taxes.
Okay, and so the living wage, one of the things that I learned, which I think is really important, we embedded this in the Classic Center's new memorandum of understanding, is the MIT living wage calculator, and it's used to determine, because of a city's cost of living, what is estimated to be that living wage amount. I think it's 11.38 here for Athens, was what we tied into that. So the Classic Center is going to be using that. And it also changes as things change. I would also question that, back to the affordable housing, I would question if that calculator has an accurate description of how much it does cost to live in Athens, so that we would make sure that that calculator is accurate for our area. And I think that working together and being able to be at the table with the University of Georgia and have those discussions is really important. And having a level-headed approach to it so that we can have those discussions. I can't imagine why anybody wouldn't want to have higher wages for the units. And I think that some of the UGA workers that I knew, they were subcontracted. So that, like, some of the cleaning crew wasn't even under UGA. So it also has different areas that I think maybe aren't under UGA, which might be another problem with that as well. Michael can probably speak to that from him working at the Georgia Center. And the other, that's the living wage part. And the other part was the taxes, right? So property taxes, all universities, all schools are exempt from that, the same as churches and charities. So the UGA is not the only one that's not paying those taxes, but you're right, they are a huge part of District 4 and the community. And then the one part about them having a hotel and not paying hotel motel taxes, that one, doesn't make sense to me. I understand that there are categories of entities, like I just mentioned, that don't have to pay property tax, but I don't understand how they get out of paying the hotel motel tax. So I think having these topics come up to being a priority that we get to discuss with UGA is important, to have the people at the table that can keep the discussions going. Right now, we've had a bit of a disconnect with the unified government and the working relationship we used to have with UGA, and we need to get that back into more of a working order so that we can have the discussions for these topics.
I want to ask you a follow-up real quick.
Yeah, make sure I answer.
Jerry Neesmith actually mentioned that the other day, that there's been kind of a breakdown between the county government and UGA. So can you elaborate on that a little bit? I mean, what is going on? Why is this relationship gotten?
Well, I guess, you know, I don't want to group it completely like that. I know that we used to have more times where we would be together and have some camaraderie. That, you know, if you only talk to people when there's a problem, it's a little bit stressed. So we used to have more overlap to where we were sharing ideas on a regular basis. Now, that said, staff like Blaine, the county manager, he does meet with some more of the logistical topics that overlap between the city and UGA, facilities or transit, and some of those more tangible overlaps. And I think what we're missing right now is more of the policy discussion topics. That's where that disconnect has come about in the last couple of years.
All right, thanks. And then Michael, just to refresh your memory, the question related to living wage at UGA and the fact that they don't pay any property taxes. And I'll give you 3 minutes if you want to take a little extra time, because I gave Allison a little extra time.
It's a long question. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Considering talking about the living wage, I'm in favor of a $15 minimum wage across Athens. I know that number that Allison was talking, and I know that that's an MIT number. Even just adjusted to that, I would support that as well. But I think we need to put more pressure on UGA. I'm a recent UGA graduate. I hope to go there for graduate school. I love the school, but I feel like you ask any student if UGA should give back more to the community, the answer will be yes. We don't think we're better than anybody. We want to give back to the community, but the school itself struggles to do that sometimes. I want to work to get those voices heard, open up the forum. I know, and the commission does not have any formal control over the University of Georgia, but that shouldn't stop us from still trying to champion that issue and trying to strive for it. Because it all starts with getting community support with the citizens of the district, with citizens in the entire county, getting that real support to show to University of Georgia that we need something to change. Regarding the second part was regarding property taxes, correct?
Yeah, UGA is exempt from property taxes, so the question was about them paying some sort of fee in lieu of the taxes that they're exempt from.
Yeah, so again, that is a little more difficult to do just because, just like churches, universities are exempt from that. That doesn't mean as a commission we can't, every year they send out state legislative requests requesting to not exempt UGA from that, to make them pay their taxes, especially considering our community's issues right now, which are poverty is the biggest one by far. And UGA is the biggest employer in Athens, yet it doesn't make sense that we have such a high poverty rate if they would just support the workers how we need to.
All right, and just
I wanted to follow up on that too, because I watched the debate on Wednesday, and I saw the answer, and I heard that same answer regarding just that there's been a disconnect within the past 2 years. And just for me, I'm not on the commission, so I can't talk to that relationship, but I just see it correlates with 2018. We've had more progressive commissioners elected recently, more commissioners who are willing to stand up to UGA. And it doesn't mean that they're taking an adversarial stance, that they're trying to fight UGA. They just want a nice, they want an open discussion where we can actually talk about these issues rather than UGA just saying, no, we're not going to do this, and then we're just having to live with that.
Okay, thanks. This is probably something we could talk about for a whole hour, but I'll
right.
to Brianna so we can move on.
Okay, people of color in Athens, and particularly Black residents, face systemic challenges when it comes to building wealth, accessing services, and securing freedom from the hands of a criminal legal system that disproportionately targets people of color. How will you support reparations for Black communities harmed by Athens and UGA's racist policies? Do you believe the Linnentown Resolution is ready to be passed as it's written by the residents? And do you support an ad hoc committee composed of Linnentown residents specifically for implementing the resolution? And Michael, we'll start with you on this one.
So I just want to get it right out of the way. I fully support the Linnentown project in its fullest form. I know it'd be one of the first reparation projects in the entire United States. And honestly, for me, it'd be an honor to be the city that passed something like that first. Athens, just like much of the South, has to understand and accept that a large part of our history is a racist history. And we need to start addressing that slowly. I accept the Linnentown project in its full form, just because these people the people who suffered, who were the main advocates of this project, I don't feel like I or anybody else has any right to tell them what they deserve. They went through those terrible times, those terrible issues. And I think it's only right for that to be addressed. Moving just bigger picture, one of the first things I'd like to do in office is try to introduce a poverty reduction committee. And whether that be fully within the commission or civilian-led, that can be decided later. But a committee that's committed to talking and seeking active solutions to the poverty problem that Athens has. And that committees can expand to also looking at other neighborhoods, because Linnentown isn't the only neighborhood within Athens that has faced this kind of discrimination. So we just need to make sure that all of Athens is covered, and we take away our inequality right now and change it to equality.
Thank you. And just to confirm, I heard you say that you do support the resolution as it's written by the residents. Can you say again whether you support an ad hoc committee composed of Linnentown residents for implementing the resolution?
I can't speak too much on the ad hoc committee, so no, would it just be all just the, would it be a combination of residents or just from Linnentown?
I think as the question's written, it says composed of Linnentown residents. I don't know.
No, I mean, like I said, I fully support that, because that's one thing that I'm afraid of. There's been a lot of steps in the right direction with the commission, not only in poverty, but a lot of things, renewable energy over the past 2 years, some good resolutions, but then we don't follow it up with meaningful policies with teeth that we can hold people accountable for. So yeah, I fully support that, because if, like I said, as I said earlier, these are the hardships they faced, and what they're asking for isn't anything big. So I do support them, and I wouldn't trust anybody else to make sure that what they want is being followed through, rather than the residents of Linnentown.
Okay, thank you. And Allison, same question to you.
Okay.
General input on reparations for Black communities in Athens, and then also, do you support the Linnentown resolution as it's written by the residents? And then lastly, do you support an ad hoc committee composed of Linnentown residents for implementing?
Okay, I think, and you'll let me know if I missed something, okay? First of all, as a white woman, I really can't even begin to imagine what those residents went through and their families in that community at that time. And I really appreciate Miss Geneva, Miss Hattie, and Mr. Kroc coming forward to the commission and speaking. There's other residents that's also reached out that maybe weren't as comfortable coming and speaking at the podium. And their voices are extremely important. And I think having an ad hoc committee of the residents is extremely important and the best next step as well. Support the resolution and the mayor's approach that he has already taken by meeting with those three, and I think some others as well. And they were in the middle of that, when they had met and were about to move on to next steps when this pandemic hit. So that's in progress and on pause with that. And I think that the vision of the resolution is important for the people of the Lennon Project, as well as support from the mayor and the commission, so that we can work with the university, again, working together as a group. And I think that ad hoc committee is going to be a key element for that, and that we just keep a level-headed discussion going so that we can address that issue. And I also want to make sure we don't make any mistakes again. We don't want as we are moving forward with projects and redevelopment in downtown and other areas that we're working on, I want to make sure that we're not making any other mistakes like that. So did I touch on the three parts that you wanted? I think I did. The ad hoc committee, definitely, to help us go to the next steps of what needs to be done while working together and supporting the resolution. Yes.
Okay. And so you do support the resolution as it's written by the residents currently?
Yeah, to get us to move forward so that we can all get together and talk about it and have it work forward. I wasn't in that short circle of the solutions. Ovita was telling me about it and was keeping me up to date on that. Okay,
thank you.
All right, we got a short one here. This is only a one-part question. To Allison first, do you support ending the Athens-Clarke County government's use of unpaid inmate labor?
We are actually in the middle of learning about the details for that, and I do want, so we put that on hold. It was on the agenda for voting on renewing the contract that we currently have. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So right now there's compensation for time. I'm not sure what the formula is, but time spent in the work program, it's time off of their sentencing. And it was my understanding that that was a very acceptable and well sought after compensation that was legal for us to do. I think that we're looking, I thought it was that we could not pay in the form of, being paid for that. I thought that there was some state level issues with that was not in our control. What I did know was that we were doing compensation in the time, in those time categories, which I think I want to look at those and see if we maybe can improve that. It's probably very dated, and that if that formula could be improved for the work that is being done, giving more time off of sentencing for release and getting back into the working world and getting back home to people.
And just to clarify, I think from the conversation at the commission meeting earlier this week, we're talking about the state prison inmates.
Corrections,
not
yes.
at the local jail, correct? And that's under the State Department of Corrections?
That one's under State Department of Health, but I think they go to, not Department of Corrections. But that paperwork, that contract is with our corrections, Athens-Clarke County Correction Institute and the government. So I think there's two groups of, they call them offenders crew is the term that they use. Yeah. So I think that we need to find out at the state level of the work details as well as the local ones with what we can compensate for and how, and address that. And then continuing some of the work that we're doing as far as learning job skills. We've got a mobile welding unit. I think that Athens Tech is helping with people to get skills and working skills. But specifically, we do need to compensate, and we need to find out what avenue we can do with that.
Okay, thanks. And then Michael, unpaid inmate labor.
When you asked the question that first time, it cut out a little bit. Could you just ask the full question for me real quick?
Sure, yeah. It's do you support ending the Athens Clarke County government's use of unpaid inmate labor?
Yeah, I fully support ending unpaid labor. That's in line with many other criminal justice reform, just like how we take advantage of prisoners and their families and their lawyers by having a fund system that is for profit. There's a lot of things about the prison system we can change, but I would like to see an end to that system. For me, just to be blatant, it's another form of it's a form of slavery, especially when you think that Athens, just like the rest of the United States, has a disproportionately large amount of people of color within the jail system. All those factors together, I think we should definitely end any unpaid labor. As far as I knew, the State Department, since it is run by the State Correctional Department, that we would not be able to dictate, they would not give money to pay prisoners at all. And I think we need to find creative solutions to give them this kind of pay. I know the Athens government and the state government have both admitted that the value of the work that the prisoners are doing, I believe, is around $18 an hour. So I think we should take those jobs that we're doing and give them and create a sector that we can give to ex-prisoners, prisoners who are citizens who have records, who have a felony charge. Give those jobs to them with paid compensation.
So sorry, but it sounded earlier like you were saying that the inmates should be paid. So are you saying that the inmates should be working on these crews and they should be paid for their work, or are you saying that they should not?
No, I'm saying that the jobs
should be given to.
I think. Sorry, I was cutting out there for a second. I think we should end the labor system. Like I said, as far as I know, we're not allowed to, because it is a state corrections facility, we're not allowed to pay the inmates. And then so with that, we should end the program just completely and look for alternate solutions. What I was talking about later is those same jobs that those inmates do is valued at around $18 an hour. I think we should cease using inmates for those jobs and use regular citizens and focus on citizens that have criminal records, that have felony charges, that we can help rehabilitate. Because that's a big problem of our system, is our jail system, is we've forgotten about rehabilitation and we just focus on punishment. The intent of prison labor was to be rehabilitation, and it's turned into a full-fledged industry now.
All right, that's clears that up. Thank you.
Sorry for any confusion.
Okay, what experience do you have in governance or working on mass-scale projects with large groups of people? Can you describe one project or idea you've seen through to fruition? And Michael, we'll start with you on this one.
Sure, could you repeat that question one more time? Sorry.
Sure. What experience do you have in governance or with working on mass-scale projects with large groups of people? Can you describe one project or idea you've seen through to fruition?
Oh, sure, no problem. So like I said, I have no direct governance experience as of holding a position, but I have plenty of policy experience. I've worked with my first years at UGA. I worked with Students for Sensible Drug Policy, being a vice president and secretary. We attended not even just Athens City Hall meetings, but we attended some in Gwinnett County. We attended the yearly hog dinner at the state capitol. And these dinners weren't just to go to see what was going on. It was to voice our opinions, to be active in the political system. That plus my major, I have extensive experience reading policy, studying it. Everything you can find on my website isn't just my belief. It's something that I've researched and I've backed up with real sources, with real educational sources. And I've always been a very big working with other people. That's my biggest drive for this. My reason for running is I have a passion for people. That is my only interest, is the people of Athens. And anytime I work any group, anything like that, I was part of the UGA rowing team. That was a very big group of people, big family, and I was on the officer board as well. We had many projects that we had to go through. Probably the most influential project was being able to be a founding member of our new moral ethics code and just our code of conduct for the rowing team. So I do understand what it takes to work with other people. I understand policy. More importantly, I understand that anybody who votes for me, they're depending on me to advance their interests, to protect them, and to make sure they have a safe place to live. And I don't take that lightly. I've done my full extensive research, and I'm ready to do this job if elected.
Great, thank you, Michael. And Allison, same question to you.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to pick. So everybody knows that I've worked a lot with lots of people in the community, starting with the school board committees, as well as the stuff that's on air with our meetings. I guess, and I'm not real big about me, and what I did or type stuff, because it's a team and we all work together to get things done with the majority vote. That said, one of the most important things that I do feel I was integral in was when some UGA students called me and asked me to meet them over at Tate Center to talk about discrimination downtown. I met with them. I couldn't believe it. I wanted more examples. They put together more examples, 17 pages, 5 and 7 different examples on each page. I was furious. I went to a meeting, shared it with my colleagues, and we started something that we haven't finished. We started off with the Anti-Discrimination Resolution. Mayor Denson put a task force together, and out of that task force, we have recommendations that were put in place. We have anti-discrimination ordinance, addressing some of the stuff downtown that was happening. We've had one person that the bar was shut down because of the evidence that was presented for that. We're not done. We've got our Office of Inclusion. It's also come out of that. So we start with the discussion, start with me being accessible, and learn the real issues that are there with that. We're not done as well because we now have discrimination in Legislative Review Committee. I've moved that up. The mayor gave me guidance. Since this pandemic, a lot of the things that we've been talking about in LRC don't seem exactly relevant. So we're moving discrimination also up into, so we can act on that sooner. So that is one specific thing that I felt we championed, and we're not finished, and we still have more work to do on that, but we, it started with a discussion, and it's a very important topic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Could I just add like a rebuttal for 30 seconds?
Sure.
Yeah, so my only thing is I love that the commission has moved.
30 seconds, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, it cut out for a second. I'm happy that the commission has moved towards passing anti-discrimination laws, but I think we need a lot more full-fledged, encompassing the entire city, not just the bars of Athens. But one of my questions is, as a student here for 4 years, I have known that this has been a problem almost the day I got here. I mean, people were afraid sometimes to be walking down the street because you don't know what kind of discrimination or kind of sexual harassment might occur. And so my question is just like, I don't understand why we have waited so long to start starting this process of passing these anti-discrimination laws. And that's why I see a disconnect within the community of this problem has been here for a long time, but we only now are trying to address it.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
All right, we'll go back to Allison for the next question. Athens, Clark County has one of the highest poverty rates in Georgia. What policies, programs, or initiatives do you envision for securing the economic well-being of low-wage workers? Allison?
Yeah, I hear you. It's just really tough right now. There's many people that are out of work altogether. I think that the broadband is going to be helpful for people to diversify their skills. And you're saying specifically for low-waged, Blake, I mean?
That's what the question says, securing the economic well-being of low-wage workers.
Okay, I think that, and that would probably be the folks that you're talking about that are working 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet type scenario. Okay. Well, I think that we need to continue our partnerships with the school district and education for career paths, and the broadband is also another way that people are able to educate and go towards careers as far as advancing themselves. And the connectivity and the partnerships that we have in the community. Again, it's about a lot of times communicating with people. We're working with neighborhood leaders to help in the communities at the ground level, so that where folks need help, want help, and are ready, wanting to move out of that environment into a better working environment. And right now, there's so many people who don't even have a job to go to right now. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time addressing that specific part with it.
All right, thanks, Michael. You want to take a crack at that?
Yeah, could you just repeat it for me, if you don't mind?
Athens-Clarke County has one of the highest poverty rates in Georgia. What policies, programs, or initiatives do you envision for securing the economic well-being of low-wage workers?
Yeah, so that is one of the biggest issue of my entire platform. Almost everything that we are pushing for, in some shape or form, looks to address the issue of poverty. Because I think one thing that people forget is it's a very complex issue. You can't just go at it from one end. You have to hit it from a lot of different ends. And a lot of this is based off the urban opportunity agenda put out by the Center for Neighborhood Technology. They've been working in Macon, and they've come up with their studies, they come up with a lot of ways of easing, of trying to fix the poverty issue. For specifics on that, one of the big things we advocate for is a fare-free public transportation system for all citizens. We've already done that for K through 12. We're actually doing that right now because of this pandemic. It's not that difficult to move to a full fare-free public transportation system. And one thing that does is it eases access for residents to get essential services. And that means groceries, groceries, your job, childcare, things like that. Another thing to help, I'm a big supporter of unions. And I would love to see a union center, a worker center in Athens, as we look to do new developments, perhaps in the Georgia Square Mall, for example. And really strengthening the union culture we have in here to support workers. Another thing I believe that is an issue with poverty is just the criminal reform that we need to do as well. A lot of people who are in poverty in Athens, unfortunately, are people of color who are unfortunately disproportionately arrested for drug arrests and things of that nature as well. So overall, most of my policies surround ending poverty, with the biggest being introducing a poverty reduction coalition that will start the dialogue, legitimate dialogue, that we can start moving forward.
All right, thank you. And I believe this next question is going to be our last question, and then we'll go to closing statements.
All right, so I have one. Yep, that sounds great. All right, so Michael, we'll start with you for this one. We know that lots of the decisions that commissioners make are ones that affect all of Athens, but can you share 1 to 2 priorities you have for District 4 specifically?
Yeah, so one of the main specific ones I want to do for District 4 is eliminate the single family ordinance, similar to as Allison has said, but we need to eliminate that just so it's another way for how we can solve poverty. Is creating more access to housing, allowing more people to move in. And I know a lot of people are afraid that that will decrease property value, having a lot of students move in. But with that, you just have to create enforcement mechanisms that keep the property value high. For example, you can have numerical occupancy standards still, where it still limits people, how many people can go into a house. It just doesn't limit based on the city's definition of family, which can be very arbitrary. Another thing to counter that would be enacting and enforcing property maintenance standards. I know I had a resident from our district contact me from our website, email me, and she was concerned about the single family ordinance, and also mentioned a concern that absentee landlords are a big problem within the neighborhoods. If we can enact and enforce property maintenance codes, this forces landlords and owners and just regular homeowners to keep their facility, to keep their home in the best condition, which will overall offset anything that might come from eliminating the single family ordinance. That was probably my biggest issue right now for District 4.
Great, thank you, Michael. And Allison, same question to you. 1 to 2 priorities for District 4 specifically.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the affordable housing as the topic for that one in this incident. We have making sure. Well, first of all, Michael and I do agree on how that outdated. No more than 2 unrelated residents in single family. That one, I think, will be solved quite soon. So that opens up that desirable living in a neighborhood for more people to do and not be worried about being kicked out, which did happen a couple of years ago. 4 young men had to be evicted. They let them finish the semester, but that was it. But having landlords follow the code is also very important, but to be able to do that, the tenant has to be comfortable reporting code violations without being evicted. So we need to make sure that those checkpoints are there, that it's not hurting them. I can remember issues with one of the first places I moved in. It had bugs, and the landlord wouldn't do anything about it. And so I spent a lot of money on insect stuff and deducted it from my rent the next month. And he told me I didn't need to pay rent anymore. I was done there as his tenant, and I was given that rest of that month to find a new place to live. The quality of the homes, we have some neighborhoods in District 4. Parkview Homes is the oldest of the Athens Housing Authority. Townview also, and Clark Gardens right now is those 3 areas. We need to improve the quality on that. Fortunately, Clark Gardens has been bought, has a new owner, and that is in the process of going to have some improvements there. But the issues with that also are making sure those neighbors, and I've been to relocate. Right now is not a good time for relocation, so I've got to get that management up to speed on what needs to be done properly for those tenants and residents while they make it better, and have them back in there to a newly renovated place that can be safe.
All right.
Hey, I just have a quick follow-up to that, if I may.
Sure, yeah, let's do 20 seconds because we've got to do closing statements.
No worries. I just want to mention...
20 seconds, Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, so Alice, when you mentioned the having to enforce the property codes, that's one thing. That's another thing. Part of my platform is enacting a tenant's bill of rights to prevent landlords from taking action against any tenants who report violations. And that's just one aspect of the tenant's bill of rights that would ensure rights for renters.
That's correct.
All right, thank you, Michael.
Okay, all right, and now we'll go to closing statements, and we'll take 1 minute each for a closing statement. And Allison, you can go ahead, go first.
Okay, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Athens for Everyone for getting us together and sharing this soon. I want to thank everybody for watching. I think it's important for voters to be informed about their choices. I think this was a good format. It's our first debate, and it's good to have up some back and forth discussions like we are. I asked for your vote. I hope that if you're in District 4, that you'll vote for me, and that the friends that you have that are in District 4 will you'll share with them your support for me. I hope I get endorsed by Athens for Everyone, but if not, that's okay. We'll still work together, and I don't hold grudges. And at this point, I want to make sure that everybody is dialed into June 9th is our election date. Everybody should have gotten their mail-in ballots by now. Please return those. Section 7 on there will tell you how to do it electronically. And so you don't have to try to track down a stamp at this point. Voter registration is cut off at May 11, and early voting starts May 18th. So those are the new dates as of this point in time on April 10th. Those are the dates for that. And that's it.
All right, thanks. And now Michael Stapor, your closing statement. Michael, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, so at the end of the day, I'm running for one reason and one reason only. Yes, I can hear you. I started. Am I good? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, awesome. Reason and one reason only. And it's the passion I share for this community. I love how this community grows, how it has grown since my time here, and I want to be a part of how it grows going towards the future. I'm very open to the community. I'm very open with working with any of my constituents, whether you're in District 4 or not in District 4. I'm working with organizations like Athens for Everyone's, the Athens Immigration Coalition, just working together and finding real solutions and bringing real change, not accepting the status quo, even if it's not possible because the law doesn't allow it. We have to move to a point where we champion those issues anyways, because that's what our community wants. And if we get enough support for these issues, we can start making real change on the state level and further. So I ask for your vote on June 9th. My name is Michael Stapor. You can always check me out again at michaelstapor.org or reach me by phone number 678-490-4053. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Allison Wright. Thank you, Michael Stapor, candidates for District 4, Athens Clarke County Commission, for joining us for this conversation today. We hope everyone takes care and stays well and healthy during what are very challenging times. We also invite you to tune in for the District 8 Commission candidates debate on April 15th and the District 10 Commission candidates debate on April 22nd. And hopefully those will be live streamed through the Athens for Everyone Facebook page. So thank you all for your patience with our technical difficulties tonight. We appreciate your time and your ideas. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you all again.
You.
Thank you.